I'm assuming that means that we're recording and that we are set. If not, I'm going to say no. I hear no objection. Wonderful. Then to begin off the ESL finals of Drexel Open 2023, on the motion this House believes the major AI research and development project should be mandated as open source. I call upon the Prime Minister to give remarks lasting no longer than 7 minutes and 15 seconds grace period. Here.
Thank you. Starting in three. Oh yeah. Thanks. For Shashwat for carrying me this far. Cool. Starting in three, two, one. One simple broad argument. This is going to mean incredibly utile things for the world. What does open source mean? It means it's in the open domain. Everyone can use it and contribute to it. You can play with it, experiment it, form third party apps and things like that. So people used to form third party apps of Reddit, which recently gone bad, right? Something like that. What is this major developmental things like that? Chat GPT, generative AI, or mid journey, or things like that. Massively transformational AI. You put all of that code on a easily accessible file on GitHub. People can use that to create whatever they want. One simple argument: this results in massive societal good. Innovation happens much quicker, greater use cases are met, and hence a lot more people are impacted. Why, when it is an open source domain, will people be able to get more innovation? Firstly, there exist a lot of developers around the world who waste a lot of time trying to reach the exact same stage where ChatGPT already is. It is not that ChatGPT has a unique idea, OpenAI has a unique idea. It's just that they got there faster by virtue of intellect and the resources that they had. So all of these developers, the massive amount of time and resources that they're wasting in reaching the same vantage point, all of that is now saved. So when all of them can now work on the common problem of this is the building block, this is the 10th floor, how do we build the 11th, 12th, and 13th floor? We think progress just happens a lot quicker because there are empirically more decks on hand. Secondly, these empirically more decks on hand are also valuable. It's not like they're bad developers like me and Shashwat. They're actually good developers. Bounty hunters exist. Like people from different parts of the world, like student developers and things like that. Small firms, researchers, like AI, like I don't know, like independent researchers, all of them are extremely good in their quality. Thirdly, innovation is a function of what you can visualize or conceptualize, right? That means at any given point of time, if I conceptualize the utility of this AI differently, then I can use that for a different use case. You need different perspectives to solve things. Famous scientists help each other crack codes or help each other work on each other's manuscripts because there are things like writer's blocks, which is an actual thing. You are too narrowly focused on looking at things the academic way or the right way. We think this more perspectives helps create this knowledge in a way that's more democratized, and hence more people can look at this in their own unique way. Everyone has a different intuition and everyone has different experiences. What are the impacts of this? Two things. A, we think there is a lot of utility because different use cases are met. OpenAI went for the biggest use case. On the comparative, you have things like, people using it for the specifically of the purpose of law, people using it to code their homeworks, programs, and things like that. But secondly, this is massive research which can also pivot into other parts. If people think this code is something that can be used to solve a problem that I was earlier working on, that democratization exists like nothing else. But most importantly, accessible innovation. And this is where I get onto the comparative. Opposition is going to say that big corporations are also going to make it accessible because that's the point of innovation. The problem is that they don't make it accessible. They make it expensive. Two reasons. A, they realize that reaching this point would need a lot of resources and a lot of intellect. Copycatting is also difficult, right? That means they have the ability to monetize it after a given point of time. This is the chat GPT $4 per month version, which a lot of us cannot access because our families won't allow. We don't realize the utility, or we weigh those $4 more because in countries like India, $4 is a lot. Sorry, we are from the third world. Right. So all of that means that at any given point of time on the opposition, these companies are going to monetize it and make money off of it. On government, you will have a lot of free versions because a lot of people just want to do it for the sake of it. And there are so many people, there is no unique proposition to your idea. So you cannot monetize it even if you want to. The second thing opposition can say is in due time, competition will catch up, right? Even if for the next 2 years, competition is not there, after that, competition can catch up. But the The problem is, if there is no existence of the actual code that was used, some people or more than half of the competition can never catch up, because it's extremely difficult to innovate these scientific AI breakthroughs. That means the people who catch up are still part of that big boys club, are still part, or like medium-sized firms at least, which still have the capacity to go ahead and make it, like monetize it in a tiered way. So after 2 years, it might be $2 per month, but it's still something that you have to pay for. Why is AI democratization the most important thing in the world? Two reasons. Firstly, it has the massive potential to change things. It can mechanize and think a billion trillion times faster than human beings. So it's good for humanity. That should be allowed to be accessed by everyone. It shouldn't be behind a paywall. Secondly, we think corporates should not be allowed to own something like this just because they thought of it first. There's no unique value that they can, like ownership that they can claim over this, because of the massive benefits that it can cause to everyone at any given point of time. See you. Oh, cool. Never mind. Why will this? Yeah, go ahead.
As a matter of fact, when ChatGPT came out, the same was true for Bard and Llama of Facebook. Similar companies have a similar size and similar amount of talent, so they get to the same conclusions at the same time.
Yeah, how many companies are there in the world in the big boys club of like Apple, Facebook, and shit like that? 4 or 5. They have $1 trillion marketing budgets, which they can freely burn money in. That's not true for everyone in the world. But secondly, because they realize their oligopolistic status, they have no qualms or worries in maintaining this status of monetizing on their services. Thirdly, even if one of them breaks that unspoken pact, they won't offer everything on free. They will now go ahead and offer things like freemium and things like that, because that money is easy passive income that they can now enjoy at any given point of time. The best case that opposition can run is, well, you take away the innovation for these corporates to go ahead and do shit. There are two reasons this won't happen. A, you still have the incentive to be the first big company to bring this information to open source. Why? Because you're seen as the company with the sharpest minds. More and more people want to work with you. More and more people want to invest in you. This directly reflects in your stock prices because you're doing some net good which originated from you. This is extremely good in terms of PR at any given point of time. But secondly, we think that when just like some developers go ahead and do this, you can buy out their apps because you have the capacity and because they reached out to you for some help and things like that. That gives you comparative advantage in the market. Lastly, why will this be used in a good way? Op can say some person who's a like massive world villain will try to like use this in bad ways. Three things. On net, white hat hackers exist in equal amounts in like comparison to black hat hackers because it's a genuine thing to earn money from. Secondly, good use cases naturally sell more. So you have a bigger market if you use it for good things rather than bad things. Thirdly, security researchers and AI ethicists now have a lot of information and time to review and assess potential risks that can arise out of this, hence having time to deal with potential problems.
Just thank you for those remarks. As a reminder, again, the feature should be 7 minutes, 15 seconds grace period, and after that, we can't take any more information. With that, invite the leader of opposition to begin opening opposition's case. You're here.
So am I audible?
I'm assuming recording.
There it is. Okay, with that, I didn't speak for this remarks. DPM whenever ready.
Assuming I'm visible. I don't know if I am.
Yep, you are.
I think I'm visible now. Cool. Cool. Most people are doing this comp because it's a pre-EUDC. Me and Sai are doing it as a pre-RCL. Sai knows what that is. Yep, amazing. Starting POI is in the chat. I'll ask for one, so don't unmute yourself. I'll definitely ask for one from CO. Please try and engage. If you don't, that's just back to meeting, guys. All right. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. O says that there's no money. I'll prove to you why A, there is money, but why PR incentives weigh that out as well. 1, I think anyways, all researchers, and this researchers specifically, have incentives regardless of money to want to go forward and develop this AI or make any sort of development. Note how in the scientific community, people who break through ideas, people coming out with solutions to problems which have existed for a very long time, are lauded within that community, are given excessive amounts of reputation, and they're like, the discussion and the discourse around them gives them a lot of awards, recognition, etc., etc. This individually goes forward and proves to you that researchers can have their own incentives to go forward and do this, and not just money. Because note, I think breaking through a huge problem also gets you a lot of money, because you're hired by corporates, because you're seen as one of the brightest minds there is. You're seen as someone who's extremely good at solving problems. That's why corporates want to work with you first. But also note, they say that corporates are the main people who go forward and make this research. That's first of all false. I don't think that corporates are the main time utilizers of how AI development works. This is a new field. There are multiple smaller companies that are working on this. There are multiple research, like small research hubs and research clubs that are working on researching and breaking through AIs. But also services. I don't think AI and the research individually through AI is something that companies earn via. I think it's services that they provide utilizing that AI. Why do companies still have incentives? One, I think companies have incentives to create these breakthroughs, because utilizing these breakthroughs gives them the head start within that market to go forward and market themselves as people who have this technology. That means people rush towards that technology first, and they create a larger user base within themselves. That means market occupiability is something that they gather only by them occupying that service first. That means it's inherent to all companies to go forward and want this AI, then be the first persons to get that breakthrough with them, so that they can innovate regarding with it, even if they have to launch it later on. I think the capacity that you have to monopolize on this AI individually in terms of the money that you can earn by this, because most market usually tends to go towards the people who like launch things first. This literally means like the major, like sending a friend request, and a lot of the discourse-based friendship, discourse-based social media was developed by Facebook. Facebook is still the leading social media that's used by everyone. Yahoo Mail was probably the largest mail system that allowed for multiplicity of mails, like stacking and arranging mails in different priority orders. It's still the leading mail software that exists. That means monopolizing and earning money off of AI that comes to you first has always been something that stays with people and will be. I don't think any opposition can tell you that that doesn't exist. But even then, why is PR something that's much more important? One, at a point in time, even if something bad is done utilizing this AI, I think multiple checks and balances exist because of this. I think all cyber security mechanisms come about as a factor of newer developments coming about. That means earlier on in the day, you'd never be thinking that FBI will use face recognition to notice where a criminal is. But now that means with the development of AI going forward, development of counterbalances will equally come forward as well. And if opposition bench want to talk about that, right now, it's probably happening at a lesser scale. You exacerbate it. I think more good people exist in the world than bad. That means people inherently have a lot of biases that they need to cross to commit something that's extremely horrible and horrendous, to go forward and commit a horrid act, like probably creating revenge porn, like religious ideologies, cultural ideologies, or what your family tells you what's good and not, or actively tell you that doing some sort of harm to society is something that shouldn't be done compared to something that's good. That means inherently there are probably more people in the world who want to be lauded for doing something good. Because note, if you do something bad, you probably can't go forward and claim recognition for it. If you do something good, you are actively lauded within society. You're considered someone who's a hero. You're considered someone who's a god at whatever you're doing. But also, you can place this on your CV. There's also another incentive for why researchers want to go forward and do this research. This means that people will always have incentives to research, but when you democratize it, the probability of that research going much faster on our side, that is Gov, is better, because problems require different perspectives to come about. That means one person or one company can't continuously going forward and leading the development in one stage. Why is this true? The very idea of gatekeeping technology means that you get some sort of hiatus period when you have done some sort of development. That means the need to go forward and develop immediately after that does not exist on opposition bench, because you can monopolize it on it already. But on our side, everyone is working on that already. As soon as you launch it to the people have access to that technology as well. So you want to be on the next step. You want to be the one, if you reached 4 first, you want to be the one who reached 5 first as well. That means at that point of time, continuous competition exists amongst people, and the need to go forward and the need to do better is much faster and much higher on our side compared to theirs, where people can take a break after doing something good, etc., etc. I think more perspectives on solving problems exist on our side as well. I think this is a simple intuition bump. If you have 13 people working on a problem compared to 1300, you probably have a better, like a faster or probably a better or more optimized solution coming on when 1300 are working on it compared to 13. Before I continue, CEO.
Will show that any innovation on your side will actually be bad and be used to hurt other people, dictatorships and such.
That's bullshit. First of all, you need to prove that that's not a POI. So first things first, I think what happens on our side is democratization of this technology. Why is this extremely important? I think AI is something that's extremely important in this world. That means the utility and the scope of it that it has in solving problems and optimizing solutions that we're actively facing right now is immense. That means the availability of this thing is probably as crucial as availability of electricity to people, or as available as probably fire to people in the Stone Age. That means the capability to go forward and revolutionize this thing into something that's much larger in terms of like solving climate change by optimizing how climate change or probably pollution statistics works, optimizing how cancer research works, or optimizing how probably transport and probably better transport rides, or probably better optimization and like efficiency within workspaces and reducing redundant jobs happen. We are able to reduce a lot of damages that happen to this world once it's accessible to everyone. Because note, I think something that the scale of which is so good and the capacity to do good in and of itself is so high, the capacity to do bad might also exist. But gut check yourself, panel. Is it justified to hide something just because it has a capacity for bad? Even when I've proven to you that the capacity to bad is extremely lower, because of the checks and balances that already exist, but also the inherent biases amongst people. That means it's probably justified in and of itself, like in a vacuum, to let this out amongst people, because people are able to utilize this within their own services. But also the services that then come about are multifold. This isn't just restricted to a chat GPT for individuals who use it for their homework. It also comes about for DALI. It comes about for multiple different services that only happen once you make this technology available to people. We make fire available to people. Prometheus shouldn't have been punished for giving fire to individuals. You shouldn't be punished for giving the ability to optimize.
Sorry, Mike. I just thank the speaker for those remarks. I'm going to look for a pause.
I am invisible.
Am I audible?
You are audible. I believe you're audible. You're being recorded. With that, I can speak for those remarks. MG, whenever ready.
Okay. Panel, 2 more cases in my speech. Why in our world we have less inequalities because of the less monopolization. And secondly, why we have more application of the AI in innovation in other domains, such as medicine. But before this, one big case which will respond to the entire content from OO. So the main content from the OO is that by introducing this motion, we slow down the progress in AI, and this is a bad thing. And I want to engage with this even if scenario. In my speech, I will take OO at the best. I will agree with them that we get a slower development of AI. My question then is, so what? Has failed to give you any reasons why this is a bad thing, that the development of AI will be slower. So we think we can flip this. So we win with them by agreeing with the causal mechanism, but then saying that the outcome is actually a good thing. So why is it a good thing that AI may progress a bit slower? We think that AI development will introduce big unprecedented changes on the labor market. A lot of professions will go out of jobs. Which kind of jobs would it be? So first Firstly, everything which is based on creativity. Artists, painters, illustrators, people who do computer graphic, musicians, actors, screenwriters. For instance, as we are speaking at the moment, there is an ongoing strike by Hollywood actors and other professionals who fear that they will be very soon out of job. They are very worried about the future. Next, people who work in communications, people who are writers, people who are project managers. So basically, there is a lot of jobs who are very easily automated, even at this moment. And if development of AI continue at the current rate, there will be a lot of unemployment and a lot of negative second-hand consequences related to those highly specified people now not being able to find a job. Their quality of life and their families will go down a lot. So what can we achieve by slowing, not stopping, but just by slowing down the AI development which happens on our side of the house? So firstly, because it will be slower, we will give people a lot of time to adjust. So this time, this revolution on the labor market will be very different to how it was before, because it will be highly specified people who took one specific skill, like for instance making illustration, and who are very good and who are very smart people. So those people, if we give them a bit more time, they will be able to change what industry they are in, and they can go and develop new skills, but they need some time. They will not be given this time if technology continues to progress at the current rate. Secondly, what we get is also more time for political action. So interest group can get organized. Left-wing politicians can advocate for social measures and political solutions that can slow down the transition. For instance, we get to introduce universal basic income, which can counteract the negative impacts of AI on our side of the house. Okay, so this in terms of this case. Now moving on to innovations. So there's a lot of applications of AI into other areas such as medicine, which is only possible on our side of the house. So Audrey has already started about the development in AI, but I want to focus on the specific applications, so for example, in medicine or in finance. So I want to talk to you about the pipeline, how it works. So firstly, is that there is a general computer science algorithm, and then in industry-specific people. So for instance, academic in medicine applied it. So for instance, someone developed a new, better image recognition system, and then academic doctors, professors take this and use it so that lung scans can be better, right? And the people with lung cancer can be diagnosed in far better rate than any human could do. So as a result of those applications of AI, which only can happen if those industry-specific academics have access to open code, we can get better diagnostic, better understanding of how proteins work, and how we can develop better medicine. So, for instance, we could learn how to cure cancers and things like this. And so we are able to help people better and massively improve quality of life of people who are having problems. Can I have Theo? Okay. So onto my next point about the demonopolization. So next, we believe that open source access to AI mechanism can counteract inequalities in access to domain-specific innovation. So how it works at the moment is that after open and AI develop a new mechanism, we can, for instance, make you predict credit risk very well. Then it goes to the banking sector, and it says, okay, we will sell you this mechanism for credit risk, this new better model, for a lot of money. Now, big banks are able to afford it, but smaller banks or smaller insurance providers typically don't, right? So what happens is that those big banks, as AI in banking become increasingly important because it can mean that they can make more profitable interest, gain more and more competitive advantage over other sectors, over their competitors. As a result, what happens is that a lot of industries will become increasingly concentrated because thanks to this competitive edge that big companies can afford to get to from companies, they will be able to force other companies to go out of business. As they will become monopolies or oligopolies, then they will be able to charge their clients more, further exacerbating the inequality and driving the quality of products down. So rich people will get richer. In contrast, if we have open source, it is far easier for smaller companies to use this open source code. All they need is that they need to employ a couple of people to adapt this code, and they can still stay in business.
I think the speaker for those remarks and invite the member of opposition to open up CS case. Here.
Okay, cool. I will take POIs by chat if I do it. Please do not interfere. I may delegate it to my whip. Sure. Three points in my speech. I will explain how open source will give access to AI for one, dictatorships, facilitating mass surveillance and crushing dissent of rebels and minorities. Two, and also for fake news spreading. Two, for terrorists. And three, for the common layman, resulting in uncontrolled advancements of the technology. And I will delve in right now. Okay, so first, why would dictatorships only get access to AI in our world, or at least get it much sooner when we get open source? Because in the comparative, think about even the strongest dictatorships, I guess China does not currently have access to AI because first, there is an embargo of GPUs of the US on China, and you need GPUs to train AI models. So without them, you cannot make great big models and have access to the internals of them. Two, because it requires a lot of talent of AI, which exists mostly in the West, in progressive liberal countries. Why is it so? Because these are mostly people coming from Ivy League universities, which are in the West and have a very progressive mentality. And also B, because of inertia, because you learn from the other people that are your mentors, and these people are already West. And C, because of herd mentality, because you talk to other people, and when the status quo is that most people that research AI are liberal in their view and progressive, then you listen to them and you adopt their viewpoint. So and the strongest of these three is just the GPU access. You just cannot, if you're China, develop train strong AI models technologically. So you cannot create your own, you cannot tweak them. You can only get a final product coming from a Western source, which already has guards on it. Okay, next. But rather in the comparative, when it is open source, then pretty much anyone can just use it, because the threshold for using it is much lower. It is very easy to just use the given technology, to just tweak the final steps of it when you already get access to the final weights. But the hard thing is to actually train the model. This is the hard part that requires both ingenuity and absurd amounts of money and effort, because you need to collect a lot of examples, and you need to be very smart, which most people are not and have a lot of specific knowledge. So when it is open source, pretty much any university graduate can just go on and tweak the model and retrain it, because when you already have a trained model, it is easy to just give it new examples of what you want, and then the model will learn this new thing. So this is very easy comparing to actually developing it from scratch, which you cannot do if you only have the product, but you can do if you have an open source and you have the internal weights of the model. So, given these things like dictators will be able to now have access to the internals and actually tweak their models. And why will they be able to do it when it is open source? Because when you do have the trains, it is pretty easy to either add new examples. So this is called transfer learning, and is very cheap and takes very small amount of time. Or you can just remove the post-processing that is the guards. Because, for example, when you try to prevent chat AI from giving you the instructions for how to create a bomb, then this is just done in the post-processing after the model is already created in somewhat of an if-else in the very end, which is very easy to forget. You can just forget the last layer of the neural network. So it is very easy for a malevolent actor to actually remove this and retrain on other things. So how will this be used for the bad? So dictators might use it for mass auto surveillance. So China currently already has cameras everywhere and tries to track people that are descent into it, but it is very hard for it because the current technology is not yet mature enough. In the cooperative world, when we do have advanced automatic AI, it will be easy for it to just track everyone and know what each person is doing at every given time, and then it will be hopeless to say anything bad about the dictator or the oppressive regime, and you will feel much more oppression in your day-to-day life. And specifically, think about the Uyghurs that China crushes. So nowadays, they can somewhat have their own peace of mind, but they will not be able if you have advanced AI. And just think about the a bit more distant future. Think about robots that are just traveling around and doing whatever they want. We really don't want such adverse things to happen, and they will happen because AI just advances exponentially quickly. So we get a huge impact of millions of people that will be oppressed. Also, fake news spreading. So already nowadays, Russia and China have a big campaigns of trying to spreading fake news around the world. Nowadays, they have a limited amount of technology because of the guardrails that are put on it by liberal democracies. In the comparative world, they will be able to just sidestep these guardrails and just spread fake news everywhere, getting whichever narrative they want, and just appending world views of people. Okay, next, terrorists. How would the terrorists use it? Again, a terrorist currently is too small and too weak to actually use it in a widespread way. But when they have access to the fire traits, they will be quite easy to just train, for example, on viruses. So you just let it see a lot of given viruses from existing open source databases, and then this will allow them to develop new, much more powerful viruses that are much harder to develop. Nowadays, it is very hard to develop a very strong, say, Stuxnet. Like the virus that stopped Iran's nuclear program, but it will be very easy for a terrorist to actually use an advanced AI like 10 or 20 years from now to actually build such a thing from scratch. And this is, without exaggerating, this can be an end of the world if you make it, for example, to just use the nuclear arsenal of the US. So this is as apocalyptic as it gets. Okay, 3, what about the layman? So now we get to even if you do not think about dictators, and even weak dictators like Hungary and Russia, it is still true for them, but even for a common layman person, we still get adverse effects because of possible misuses of just the uncontrolled pace. So if we get a too quick development without someone which is responsible, like the government, to actually intervene and stop and make things slower, then we have no time to develop mitigations for possible attacks. So, for example, even if we get a very huge sudden loss of jobs, this again can lead to unrest and unemployment, and even to hunger of the people that are suddenly without a job. And this will not be a problem if you have time to actually prepare for it, invest as a government, and actually make people have an alternative job. Now, this will not happen in our world because researchers are more responsible because they talk between themselves, and they already have a culture of actually being responsible between each other. Thank you.
Thank the speaker for those remarks, and to close out the government of this debate, invite the government web here. Thank the speaker for those remarks, to close the op bench and this debate as a whole, and invite the opposition web here.
Okay, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Firstly, I'll take CG out of the debate. Then I'll explain why we win. Basically, we show the biggest impact, and we take opening on their strong side. And then I'll say why we're about 0-0. I'll take POIs. I'll try to take from both teams, so be prepared. Okay, so let's understand what CG's case here. First of all, they're totally knifing OG. OG did all of their case about why the innovation will be faster and why it's so good to the world. It's really hard for us as a team to both argue that, to both say why that is bad and why CG's case is bad. But even if you don't think that it's my thing, CG's case contradicts itself, right? They say innovation is bad and people will lose jobs, but also because it will be so quick. If it will be so quick, but also if it's but also innovation will be quick and good and will be able to diagnose more people from cancer and stuff like that. Notice that this can't live together in the world. So at the end, what we're left, their case is left with probably slower innovation. It might be good, but it's not unique to open source because you can still have doctors teaming up with coders and going to Google with their idea. So I'm not sure why only on their side of the house, when there is open source doctors can diagnose better or do all of this stuff, because generally people that are only in one area don't, like, doctors can't code, coders don't understand medicine. You need some sort of a cooperation to put them together and let them collaborate, and that happens not when it's open source. Okay, now why do we win? CG, if you have something to say. 1, 2, 3. I'll take you later, OG. Okay, and then their rebuttal to us is, oh, but there is transparency and it will be used well. And also dictatorship can collaborate with Google. First of all, so I don't really think that Google collaborates with China if they know that their AI will now be used to oppress people. That's not that doesn't answer our analysis as well at all. And second of all, dictatorships generally aren't transparent. They will use AI to control other people. This is what dictatorships do. So what do we give to this debate, and why do we win? Basically, people can still use ChatGPT or deepfake on our side of the house, right? What they can't do is edit the code, have the code, recreate it, or be able to retrain the AI. So at the end of the first house, we get that there might be more innovation, either from OG or from OO. You lost your chance to CG. But we actually explain why that innovation is necessarily bad when there is open source, right? Because what do we give you? We give a unique harm to unregulated an open source AI. We explain why this regulation is going to be necessarily bad, or at least mostly bad, because OG said, oh, now you'll have 13,000 people researching instead of 130. But what are they going to research, right? My partner talked about them. They're like college students, so they'll research ways to do better deepfake because that's what's cool. They wouldn't research how to make an AI that can recognize deepfake, which is actually what is needed in the world, which means that now deepfake will be so much better, which actually proves the impacts that OO are trying to say, while the regulation won't happen. So we also analyze that better than OO. And why is that unique? And why is that so bad that dictatorships have that, right? Because if before that they had a blurry photo of someone, or they could create deepfake that wasn't realistic, because come on, do you remember the deepfake a few years ago? You knew that person wasn't really real because their mouth moved differently from their words. But now deepfake will be so convincing that they can use it to incriminate people or to strengthen their propaganda. Now their surveillance will be so good because the AI can recognize face or can recognize you by the way you walk instead of by just what you sort of look like. This is a terrible harm because only when it's open source do dictatorships like China and Korea, South Korea, North Korea can actually use that to surveillance people and to hurt them. And our case is the tipping point because we so our case is the tipping point because without that it doesn't happen. And that is more important than more important than more or less innovation from in two ways. A, it's the most certain impact. If China gets a good AI, this is what they will use it for. And that is more certain than the clash in first house of where there is a bit more innovation or quicker AI. Two, this is the biggest harm in the debate, right? We show we show that people will be taken to jail with no reason. People will be oppressed, and they'll have less ability to resist dictatorships because whenever they try to uprise, there is a smarter AI that can find them. All of this already wins the debate. PR from CG, and then I'll weigh us above them. From OG, sorry. One,
Look,
two.
if there is a big bad Chinese AI virus, then security researchers, governments, white hat hackers have time and ability to preempt and predict those and make a big good AI antivirus. But
But
secondly,
I'm not
independently,
sorry. I'm not talking about Chinese hackers hacking US stuff. I'm talking about Chinese government using AI in order to oppress people and in order to oppress people. Okay, so why are we above OO? Because OO explained how innovation is quicker on their side, but we explained how we take OG on their stronger case, and even if their innovation is quicker on OG side, we explain why it won't be good. And even more important, we show certain harm while OO at best shows slower benefits. And we also answer OG better, right? Because than OO, because we defeat them on their own logic. And while OO mostly tried to show less innovation, it was very mitigated by OG's case, and our case doesn't depend on that. We're also above OG because we take them basically on their strong side. We agree with everything that they said. Okay, there is more innovation, but to explain why it necessarily will be bad, because only deepfake will be researched, not the regulatory stuff or not the stuff that will actually be able to halt bad AI. With all of that, please CO.
I thank the speaker for those remarks and all the speakers for an excellent debate. You can go ahead and virtually cross the aisle, shake hands,